Something I was kind of interested in when you were talking earlier about your sort of like what's been happening recently about like the Middle East and especially on college campuses. I wanted to hear your thoughts on like, I mean, obviously there's speech that shouldn't be protected, like what Patrick Dye said, but about like preventing, another Patriot Act or something like that to like basically censor any dissent. Well, like, what are your thoughts on protecting speech, especially in a time like this?
I think subsidiarity is really key. So one wishes to make sure that we protect our rights, our legitimate rights and our way of life and the good old American tradition. But we also want to recognize that we have not merely individual rights, but political rights. We have rights to community standards, for instance, because man is not an atomized individual floating in outer space. He's a social creature and a political animal and naturally part of a community. So I think the way that we do this is we recognize that decisions ought to be made at the most local level possible at which they can be efficiently and sufficiently determined. So what you're saying is I don't want the federal government to come in and read all of my records and suppress my speech, which they're certainly going to do anyway, but I agree it's not ideal. But the answer to that would be to say that communities are permitted to impose and enforce reasonable standards that perhaps you can't articulate the limits of on the back of a napkin in a 5-bullet-point manifesto, but which naturally come through culture and through the generations and the way that we actually live according to the lowercase c Constitution rather than the uppercase C Constitution, which, as we've seen, is no particular guarantor of rights because it can be abused and misinterpreted, and you can have some liberal justice on a court read invisible ink somewhere that says you've got a right to all sorts of nonsense that you don't. That would be my recommendation.